And welcome back, everyone. My name's Tyler Boronski. You're watching the T-Balls 5 and 2 YouTube channel, home for your top interviews with professional athletes and celebrities. My guest right here, he's been blowing up the internet recently with his post-game recaps on Twitter for his beloved 62-win Detroit Tiger baseball team, which is good for fourth place in the AL Central.
Yeah, it would be fifth place in almost any other division.
My man right here, Chris Castellani. What's going on, brother? How you doing today?
Nice to see you, Tyler, and beloved athletes and celebrities. I mean, that's really high praise. I don't know if I would put myself in that category. In fact, I wouldn't, but I appreciate the kind words nonetheless, and thank you for having me on.
Hey, man, definitely. I'm a fan. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I don't think I've been more excited for an interview than after doing one with you right now. It's awesome, man.
Well, having seen the people that you've interviewed, that's pretty crazy. I'm sure part of it might be anxiety, thinking that I'm going to lash out at you the same way I lash out at my Tigers. But no, I appreciate it, man. Anytime somebody wants to have me on their podcast or anything like that, I try to jump at every opportunity because I've been in that position before too. So
absolutely,
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, appreciate it, man. Well, I want to ask you first. I saw one of your tweets recently after you're on Barstool Sports for the second time, and you're actually hoping maybe Barstool could help you out with a job. So I'm just curious, has the boys reached out to you from Barstool about a job yet?
No, he hasn't. It was a tongue-in-cheek thing. It is a as of now, it's a pipe dream. Just I'm still in college. I can't expect. Just because I made a couple videos of me screaming that all of a sudden, they're gonna want to hire me to be, a content creator at one of the biggest sports sites in the world. But I'm very lucky that my name has, at the very least, or my face at the very least, has gotten out there, and that it's been seen by a couple people at Barstool. It's crazy to me that became something that happened. I never. That's the thing is I never tweeted or sent any of my videos to the people at Barstool. That was one of my followers. I want to say, and I should give him credit. I think it was Hot Stove Stats. Who's a really nice guy on Twitter. That has a lot of good numbers as well. He was the one who sent it to Carabas, and he was the one who then decided to put it on the show. So. Like I said, I mean, it's a dream job. I got a long ways to go, but that was a major moment in my life when that happened. That was awesome.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, and they love you over there. I watched the episodes. Dallas and Brian, they love your videos. So.
And that's the thing. I was worried that the reaction by them would be, look at this crazy guy. This team's terrible. What's he freaking out about? What a pathetic loser. Things I've said to myself before, but at the same time, like Dallas especially, I mean, all of them were great, but Dallas especially, had I have wrote a script of what I wanted him to say, it wouldn't have been as nice as the words that he had for me. So that was really a moving and really cool moment for me.
Yeah, very well put. Well, Chris, like I mentioned, obviously blown up on Twitter. I'm curious to hear from you what this progression's been like for you, just going from maybe an average baseball fan on Twitter to now being more notable on there. Was there a particular video of yours that just went viral first that really blew you up?
It went in stages. I think there was game 42, I believe, against the Astros where they got one hit, where I went from, I think, like 800 to 1,200 followers in a night. But then it was the game against Cleveland. It was game 85 where all of a sudden it went crazy. And I went from about 1,600 to 3,600 in one day. And there's been every so often, every couple of weeks, there'll be a video where all of a sudden I'll get a spike in followers. But, it's crazy because at the beginning of the summer, like I said to myself, all right, I hope I can get to 1,000 by the end of the summer. And I kept kind of going up and up to the point where I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can get to 3,000. Maybe I can get to 4,000. And the response, I keep calling it a journey, and that's really what it's been, and that's what I hope it's been to the people who follow me as well. And I mean, it's going to get almost emotional here talking about it because the season's so close to coming to an end, but I've never felt so much support in my entire life, and the fact that people, because anything anybody does, you worry, am I terrible? What if I suck? What if people think I'm awful at what I do? And whether you can, if you hate me or not, that's fine. But I at the very least, I do have a very supportive group of people, and I feel extremely lucky. As I've said before, I'm just some socially awkward kid from Lansing, and the fact that this has turned into, if nothing else, just a fun hobby is amazing to me.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, definitely all the success so far is very well deserved. So.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And some things I love about the recaps is that they actually are very informative, and they provide really good analysis. It's not just you screaming like you mentioned earlier.
Right. There's certain games, because that's the thing, especially when they win, which the season has been, like finding a, hay in the needle stack. But when they do win, I pay a lot of attention to the pitchers, what they did right. I'm a big component of the first pitch strike. How many swings and misses did a guy get? Or even last night in my post game recap, while a majority of it was me going nuts, I brought up the fact that he could have gone to Blaine Hardy in the bottom or in the top of the 8th inning, and the reason for that was because in between, right before the game ended and right before I made my post game, I double checked to see, okay, Jed Lowry, he's a switch hitter, he's weaker from the right side, and it's those things that I probably, and I have nobody to blame for this but myself, but maybe get overlooked at points through all the craziness, but I like to think that I know what I'm talking about. I still have a ways to go, but I want to be able to find that medium between crazy and smart.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that planning. It's really smart. Now, you use a lot of creative sayings and lines and analogies in your videos. And profanity, yeah. How much of the recaps are improv, like on the spot, or are you writing and maybe structuring out the videos to keep the flow like you do in the videos?
I mean this, and I say this with 100% sincerity. I mean it. I've never pre-written a script for one of my post games before. Now, with that said, there have been certain post games in which I've had to do, and many, I would say probably around 50%, maybe probably more of the post games I've done, I've had to do multiple takes.
Okay.
Whether it be because I've been like 30 seconds in and I've said, I don't like the direction where this is going, or I feel like I'm going down a road where I'm talking about nothing, or it could just be the occasional, stumbling over my words type of thing. And but I try not to pre-write it, and it's weird because like I do I work on the show on campus here at Central Michigan, and like I almost pre-write everything I say because that's a different environment. But when it's 2 minutes and 20 seconds, that window that you have, it's just you got to try to get out as much info as you can. And often that info comes in the form of F-bombs or whatever, crazy cursing or comparisons that I decide to do. But it's not, it is, a majority of it is improv. Yeah.
Gotcha. Perfect. Now, Chris, I've seen you touch on this maybe on Twitter, this topic a few times, but why do you feel maybe Twitter is the right platform for you than maybe, say, creating a YouTube channel to post videos on there? Why is Twitter a right fit for you?
That's a great question, first of all. I mean that, and way back when I was 12, and I remember this day. It was January 20th of 2008, because this is the type of stuff I remember. Not like what I did in class today, but like dates like that. So it was, and I posted a movie review for the movie Cloverfield, and I did that for about let me think, probably about 4 years where I reviewed movies, and I got I can't remember the amount of subscribers at this point. I think it was a couple hundred, but there were other people that I was in correspondence with, and their popularity was gaining and growing. And part of it was, one, they had the resources and they lived in major cities and were able to get tickets or critic passes to go see movies for free. And since then, to me, YouTube and I live on YouTube. I absolutely love YouTube, and I'm not saying that the site itself is bad, but I was really kind of let down by the fact, and this wasn't just me, because maybe if I suck, I suck, but there were other people that I knew with a ton of talent that were getting no recognition, whether they were reviewing movies, talking sports, whatever, across the spectrum, whatever they were talking about, that weren't getting recognition, while people with really with little talent or who just put together clickbait titles were getting millions upon millions of views. And that's one big reason. And the other one is the fact that I have, as you'll probably see when you watch this interview back, I have the ability to ramble. And having just that 2-minute, 20-second window, I think, is important for somebody like me to try to cram as much info in as I can. And so that's why I've never really felt compelled to start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely. And I hear Twitter is weird like that, because it's easier to get followers, feel like, on Twitter sometimes than subscribers is really difficult sometimes on YouTube.
And I think part of it is that YouTube, I think there's a lot of people that don't get the subscriber system, that don't, because there's a ton of people probably like me who live on YouTube, but they don't want to make accounts. They don't want to get updates every time a person they just want to watch videos. And with Twitter, it's much easier to just say, all right, I'm going to make a quick account, follow this person. So yeah, it is easier.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you touched on about the movies before, how you used to make the recaps. How much of a movie buff are you? And would you ever want to broaden out from just baseball again to doing other stuff like movies if you're passionate about it?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you asking that, because unlike when I was in, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, even going into high school, I feel bad saying this, but I don't have my parents to pay for me to see movies anymore. So I got to be selective with what I see. There would have been a time where, if I felt like a movie was terrible and I was like, all right, I'm going to dish out. I can get in there for free, essentially. I'm going to see it so I can rip on it. But now, I got to be more selective. And I have, over the last couple months, posted a few recaps. I did a short review of It. I did a short review of War for the Planet of the Apes. I did a short review of Spider-Man Homecoming. And it's weird, because all three of those movies I really liked, and that's because I heard great things about them. And not to mention, the fact that I loved, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I loved the first two Planet of the Apes movies, but I'm not somebody who loves every movie I see, but I am going to focus, in the off season, probably especially around Oscar season, post a few more reviews, just quick recaps, and also I really want to make the distinction between the person I am in these rants and the person I am in real life, because I got a lot of flaws. I would never ever claim to be anything even remotely close to perfect, but I do genuinely. There is definitely a much different side to me than what is shown in those videos, and I really want to use the platform that I've been given, because I've been given an incredible platform. I feel very, very lucky that I have the amount of people supporting me that I do. And I want to do stuff like I want to support charities. I want to. I had a person a couple weeks ago who had a GoFundMe campaign for a woman who had cancer. And I'm not trying to make myself seem like I'm greater than thou. I'm just using this as an example. And I made a video about that. And I want to do more stuff like that. I really want to try to go to visit the Children's Hospital here in Mount Pleasant. Be a more positive person, because, and I've said this multiple times, but if these videos are the best thing that I ever do, I'll have failed. As much as I love doing them, as much as I appreciate it, they can't be everything that I'm known for, because I think I have more to offer than that.
I love that, man. I love that direction a lot.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Now, you mentioned earlier you're in college right now as well. You do a show at your local college. Do people at your college know who you are and what you do? And have you been to any maybe baseball games or events recently that anyone's recognized you at?
Well, baseball hasn't really, is kind of in an off season right now. They don't really start until the spring. They do play winter games, but they go down to Florida and stuff for that because it's Michigan and it doesn't get warm until June. But that's kind of been the craziest part to me, is that there's been people on campus that have actually recognized me from my videos. And I mean, if it was one person, it would be crazy. And if it was just one dude or one girl who recognized me, it would make my day. But the fact that there's been multiple people who have, all of them have been incredibly friendly, because I thought for sure at least one person would be like, or would either notice me and say, I don't want anything to do with that guy. That guy's nuts. Or say, dude, like, what's your problem? But almost every single one of them has been incredibly supportive and cool and awesome. And it feels like this crazy, opposite world, because as 3 years ago, coming into college, I felt like somebody who, no matter how much they might have tried, was unable to be noticed. And all of a sudden, I'm somebody without trying who's getting noticed by people, and that just, it doesn't make sense, and I'm glad it doesn't, and I can't stress this enough. I feel really lucky.
Awesome. The power of the internet, man. It's unbelievable.
It'll help you a lot. It'll hurt you a lot, but I've been very fortunate over these last couple months that it's helped me out a lot.
Definitely great. Chris, let's get into some baseball a little bit. We'll talk a little.
Let's do it, man.
We'll talk a little Tigers. Obviously, they're not that good. They're really bad this year.
Yeah. No, that's some hardcore analysis there.
Yeah. They're really bad.
I think. This is an awful baseball team, and right now, just since they traded Verlander and Upton, this team alone, I think, because honestly, the first memory I have as a Tigers fan was the 03 team.
Okay.
And I'm honestly, I think in a 7-game series, just with this 25-man roster they have right now, in a 7-game series, that'd be a dogfight between this team and the 03 team. I think this team would probably win because there is some talent, but I mean, you look at the rotation, Matt Boyd's your number one. Every other start, he's terrible. I know he almost threw a no-hitter, and hopefully that's a turning point, but everybody else is a toss-up. It's been the worst season since 2003, and the window was already shut, but this has solidified that in a brutal way.
Yeah. Chris, if you were the general manager for this team in the offseason, Al Avila in the backseat, take a break. What moves would you make this offseason to maybe help this organization? I'm not saying like maybe obviously compete for a playoff spot next year, but just set them in the right direction.
Put them in the right direction. Well, I'll preface it by saying this. I do think for the first time that Al Avila has a direction that the team is going in. I don't know if it's the best direction. I don't know if it's the quickest direction, but it is a direction. And I think that I didn't believe that there was one until the Verlander and Upton deals. I did not think he'd have the guts to pull that string. Yeah. He did, and I give him credit for that. But if I was in the general manager spot, anybody who knows me knows that this is probably obvious. I would fire the manager.
Yeah.
Because I think there's no. It was Mike Valenti in Detroit who I believe has said this, and he's right. No coach or manager in the history of Detroit sports has done less with more than Brad Ausmus has. He was given a team in 2014 that had the ability to win the pennant, and they got swept by a Manny Machado-less and Chris Davis-less Baltimore Orioles team. And so to me, that's a no-brainer. He's gone. To the people who say, who do you replace him with? The first guy that I'm going for is Gabe Kapler, who was a first-round draft pick by the Tigers back in the 90s, and he almost got the Dodger job when Don Mattingly was let go. But they decided to go with Dave Roberts, and I love Dave Roberts, but they said they wanted somebody with a little bit more of a laid-back attitude, and Roberts has done wonders for them. You know, they've had 2 great seasons, but I like hearing that because I want somebody who's a bit more hard-nosed, who's a bit tougher, you know, than what Ausmus is, and also somebody who's a big component of the analytics of sabermetric culture. I'm big into that. But the other move that I would try to make, and unfortunately, because of the injury, this is probably impossible, is that I would see if I could try to trade Michael Fulmer. And I love Michael Fulmer. And I think Michael Fulmer, in the 2 years that he's been in Detroit, has overachieved and been better than we could have ever thought possible. But especially considering the injuries, you worry about how long is his prime gonna last. And right now, considering the fact that he has 4 more years on his rookie contract, which means like at most he's gonna be earning like $900,000 a year, which is nothing in the major leagues. The haul that you could potentially get back for him is bigger than the haul you got for Justin Verlander, for Justin Wilson, Alex Avila. That's the type of move that that's almost that's the type of move that the White Sox made in the last offseason. You know, trading Chris Sale, trading Adam Eaton. Unfortunately, with the injuries, I don't see that happening, but it's something I would definitely try to do. Besides that, another thing I would do is I'd really look into the scouting and player development department. And that's the other thing with Kapler, is that he is currently the head of scouting and player development for the Dodgers. And anybody who knows baseball at all knows they've scouted and developed some pretty good players over the last couple of years. Yeah, they have a ton of money, but I mean, go down the list. Bellinger, Seager, Jock Peterson, Chris Taylor. I mean, the list goes on. And I would really look into that department, because I feel like there's a lot of talented players that have come through the system that have failed for whatever reason, or have been overlooked for whatever reason. And I'm not even including guys that they let go in trades like Robbie Ray or Corey Knebel. I'm talking about guys that were highly touted, like Stephen Moya, like Jacob Turner, like Tyler Collins. And I'm still going to put the jury out on Joe Jimenez, but I'm worried. And of course, my favorite, Bruce Rondon. But you know, you look at all those guys. The last pitcher or last really position player that they developed through their system that turned out to be good was Verlander. Fulmer doesn't count because he was with the Mets organization for a long time. So I would really look into that and try to see if you can trade Fulmer. Besides that, I feel like you're kind of stuck currently until next year's trade deadline, at which point you can see who's had good years and maybe if you can make some moves.
Definitely. Those are great points, and I love that Fulmer point as well, because I don't think many Tiger fans would admit how good of a trade. I mean, obviously, like you said, he's injured out off season. It's not going to happen this off season, but if he was healthy, exactly, I was thinking the same thing. You get a major haul for Fulmer, especially after this year. But who knows? Who knows what would happen?
Yeah, I know. It's one of those tough decisions to make. But I'll say this: considering the fact that he pulled the string on the Verlander and the JD trade, two guys, especially Verlander, who are loved in this city and by these fans, it makes me think he'd be fine trading for him. And it's it wouldn't be like a malicious thing. I wish Fulmer the best, but it's a business, and you trade guys when their stock is highest, because the key component is you got to find the sucker. And what the trade that always stands, Theo Epstein's like my hero. So every I look at some of the trades he's made, but the Baltimore Orioles were in dire need of a starting pitcher back in 2012. And so he traded Scott Feldman, who had half of a good season, for some below average starter named Jake Arrieta and some minor league reliever named Pedro Strop. 2 years later, those guys are world champions. I think if they're smart, now I don't know if nobody's Epstein good, but if they are smart, they could have the ability to turn those tricks and get back guys that you look back on in a few years and say, wow, really? That's what they got for them? Mm-hmm. So here's hoping that that's the case.
Yeah, definitely. Chris, got a little bit of a fun question for you.
Perfect.
Guilty pleasure Tiger players over the years. Any that come to mind? Any just players that just aren't that good, but just have a soft spot. You root for them, want them to do well.
Well, the one that comes to mind on the current team is Romine, and I've talked about him at length, and that's just because look, he is the definition of a replacement player. Yeah. Like he's good enough to be in the majors, but he's not good enough to be an everyday starter. But I think to win a championship, you need an Andrew Romine on your team. Somebody who says, you know what, I'm fine playing whatever position you need me to play. And in 2014, he was forced to be the everyday shortstop, and he didn't have a good year. And that's because he's not an everyday player, but he never complained. He got his job was taken by Suarez, and then he took it back late in the season. So he stands out. Don Kelly's one that stands out to a lot of people because Leland loved him, and as awful as he would look at points, guy won you 2 playoff games. I mean, that can't be ignored. Another one, and this one's really on the edge because I would hate this guy for long stretches of time, is Phil Koch. Phil Koch's one that stands out because, for one, Phil Koch seemed like he pitched about 110 games this season. It seemed like every game he was warming up in the pen. The 2 is that he went through long stretches where you said there's no reason this guy should be pitching in the major leagues. Yeah. But then he would have long stretches where he looked dominant. And to me, he got himself kind of a lifetime pass in the 2012 postseason when Valverde just lost it. They were in need of a closer. And they said, who do we have? Leland goes to Koch, and he shuts the door on the Yankees. He was great in the World Series as well. So I kind of have a soft spot for him as well. Sure. But, there's multiple I'm sure that I'll think of after this is over. But those guys stand out for me, definitely.
Sure. I will give a little shout out to Phil Koch because a lot of my followers here follow me because of the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball, independent ball with a lot of AAA, AA, AAA Major League guys, and Phil Koch is an alumni from our league that got back to the Major League. So I will give him a little shout out there.
And part of it too is that from what I've heard, I've never met the guy, but I do know multiple people who did, is that he was like one of the nicest guys ever. So same with Don Kelly and same with Romine. So I think likable guys, that does make a difference when you're managing an MLB clubhouse. Should it? Maybe not, but either way, they're in the major leagues, they deserve to be, and all the guys I just named had big moments with this organization.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, final question for you, Chris. We will talk a little playoff prediction, maybe World Series prediction. Obviously, a lot of great teams in both leagues: Indians, Astros, Red Sox, American League, and then teams like the Dodgers, Nationals, and Cubs in the NL. If you did have to choose 2 teams World Series this year and a winner, which teams would you choose and why?
In February, I picked the Dodgers to win the World Series. And just kind of out of pride, I'm sticking with that, because if it does happen, then I'm, for some reason, going to feel really good about myself. I think it's funny because, and I've said this before, the Dodgers win the World Series only if Clayton Kershaw pitches like Clayton Kershaw. Yeah. And I'm talking 7 innings in a run, 8 innings in a run, complete games, the way that we've seen regular season Kershaw pitch. I do still think that if they survive the NLDS, which sounds odd, but the only team that I think poses a real threat to them, it's not the Nationals, not the Cubs. The Diamondbacks have gone against them multiple times, especially in the second half, and beating them up pretty bad. I mean, JD Martinez got his 4 home run game against them. That was the same game Robbie Ray struck out 14. That is a team that I think matches up fairly well with the Dodgers. I do think the Dodgers come out of the NL. I think the Indians come out of the American League, just because I don't think that there's a pitcher in the world right now better than Corey Kluber. Yeah. And I think if you ask, and there's not many number 2 starters better than Carrasco. And as much as I would love to see Verlander, make it to the World Series, as much as I'd love to see the Astros, considering, that they're kind of the sentimental pick, I think the Indians come out of that. And I'm going to stick with the Dodgers in a 6 or 7 game series to win it all. I just think at some point something's got to give. They've had so many chances, even despite the horrible losing streak that they just went on and the incredible winning streak the Indians just went on. I think that they find a way to win the World Series.
Okay. I hear you. Well, I had, before the season, Astros and Dodgers. Honestly, you can't change your pick, but I honestly wish...
you can now. Yeah, I mean... It's just that, because, no, dude, I had Dodgers and Blue Jays because it was like, everyone is picking Cubs and Indians. Right? And so I'm like, that's lazy. Like, I'm not going to pick the same 2 teams. So I'm like, all right, who do I think, I'm going to pick a wild card team. So, you can change it. I just feel a point of pride knowing, I picked the Dodgers from the beginning.
I think realistically the Indians now as well, they're too good. And like you said, Kluber, I mean, he's on another level. Even I'm a Red Sox fan. Sale, I love Sale. Obviously, he's great, but I think Kluber's way ahead of him. It's just
now, I have a question for you.
Sure,
if the Red Sox lose in the ALDS this year, do you think John Farrell's gone?
Definitely gone.
Do you want him to be gone?
Yeah, it's too much drama. I feel like too much.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like this team, as much as the Yankees have overachieved and as much young talent as the Yankees have, this Red Sox team is far superior to the Yankees. I mean, they should be 5-10 games up in that division, and they're still in somewhat of a dogfight. And they're going to probably have to – they are going to have to be on the road in their first playoff series. And if it's against the Astros, you're going to have Sale. You're going to and then probably against Keuchel. Then you're probably going to have I don't know, maybe Pomerantz. Pomerantz has had a good year against Verlander. And then after that, Porcello's Porcello. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But,
exactly. Yeah. The pitching's a little rough after Sale and maybe Pomerantz. Chris, just to wrap it up, maybe give some social media plugs what your Twitter handle is, and then also the name of your show as well. You do for
absolutely, I was going to do that. You can follow me on my personal Twitter page. That's at Castellani 2014. That's at CASTELANI LLANI2014. If you want to follow the show that I am currently working on, I got to look up the exact Twitter handle real quick. The name of the show is To the Whistle in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. It's on 101.1 FM, The Beat, which is the local station that we have here in Mount Pleasant. Mm-hmm. And you can follow that on Twitter. That's at To The Whistle 101. Everything's spelled the same. 101. Give it a listen. You can stream it. The link to stream it. It's every Monday from 6 to 8. We do talk Central Michigan football, but we talk Michigan football, Michigan State football, and other national news, as well as the occasional debate. And every so often, you're going to hear those classic rants. No profanity because I like my job, but feel free to listen. I know Travis and Hannah are the other two people. They work their butts off to try to promote this thing. So please, if you can, give it a listen and support that on Twitter. I appreciate that.
Perfect, Chris. And fans, you can follow this YouTube channel at TBells512 by clicking the red subscribe button down below. TBells512 interviews on Facebook and on my Twitter at TyBronski10. Chris, this was awesome. I really appreciate your time, brother.
You're one of the YouTube guys with talent that I hope builds an audience, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's crazy to think that there's people who actually want to be in my presence, whether it's even over Google Hangouts. Sure, but thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck, man. If you ever need me back on, I'd be happy to do it. Have a great one, man. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, take care, Chris. Thanks so much, brother. Appreciate it.